Hello, and welcome to Culture Conversations, the podcast where we explore the people side of work. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. For years, I've found myself deep in discussions about workplace engagement with industry experts. Now I get to share this wisdom with all leaders, new and experienced, on their journeys to build cultures that maximize potential. We spend so much of our lives at work. Let's make it a place where our teams can grow and succeed. Hello and welcome to Culture Conversations. I am so excited to have John Hibbs here today with me to talk about Monergy. John Hibbs is a serial entrepreneur, island dweller, and father of two. He enjoys discovering patterns, continuums, and taking something from over there and plugging it into something over here to make something absolutely brand new. John believes in the power of people, kindness, and how small actions can ripple into big outcomes. He's also the founder of Coefficient, a software company that measures organizational performance from a human perspective. Welcome, John.
Hello, Megan. Nice to be here. That is the best introduction I think I've ever heard. Thank you so much.
You know, you wrote most of it, so I only want to add a little snippet or there too, but in all transparency, John is one of my favorite people, and I do love that intro just because the work that you do is so focused on that human perspective, on organizational performance, and merging those two is incredibly difficult for companies to really get their finger and pulse on. I feel like that's the secret sauce that most people are missing these days.
Yeah, well, 100%. And just for transparency, you're one of my favorite people too. There's always a chain of events, isn't there, in business? And as a business owner and leader, you want specific outcomes, and they usually revolve around money because it's very easy to measure. But actually, I think the purpose of running businesses isn't just to make money. It's to surround yourself with people you like and to make the world a better place. And if we think about what businesses really truly are, they are just simply groups of people, aren't they? And the group of people called a business, but they sell stuff to another group of people they happen to call customers. And all the employees go home every day to other small groups of people they call families, and collectively another group of people called communities. And it's all to do with people. So there's always this flow between I want an outcome, which is money or to sell a product or to do what have you, and there's things that happen before that. And what's at the start of the chain of events is people.
I love that you want to start that chain of event in people and go back to it, because when you've just oversimplified everything to we're just groups of people, we're just countries that are groups of people. Everything is just really those.
Yeah.
I don't even know a better word for group of people because there's a bazillion of them.
That's right. That's all it is. So if you think about anything, it's just people, isn't it? But we give them these groups of people like titles and almost use it sort of as an excuse for changing behavior. And I'm sure you've seen this as well. I'm sure you've seen this where people are treated poorly in business, and the excuse is, hey, it's just business. That's business. We're here to make money. And I'm like, well, you're not just here to make money, are you? So if you think about
that connection with the people, which was the original point of business. To your point, if you're defining a business as a group of people and you've lost that people element, you've lost your potential, you've lost your outcome, you've lost your purpose, essentially.
So when you really start analyzing, like, what is the point of business? Like, really, what's the point of it? And it's got multiple points, I think. So A is to make money, definitely to make money, because
what's the point?
Right? Well, the point of making money is you can survive, you can pay your staff, and if you pay one member of staff, you're usually contributing towards a family, and it allows that family to survive, and they need money to pay for all the stuff that they need to do. So they need to shelter and warmth and education and healthcare and all that sort of stuff. But making money as a business also allows you to pay taxes, which is an amazing privilege. And if we think about where does all the money in the world come from? Well, it comes from business. All the wealth in the world is generated by business. It's not generated by any other group of people. Like government doesn't do it, humans don't do it. It's business. So the relationship is businesses create the money. The other group of humans called government, they create the infrastructure and the environment to allow businesses to thrive. And that's kind of the relationship. So the purpose of a business is yeah, make some money, but it's also treat people well, do a great job for your customers, look after your staff, and recognize that all of these things ripple through into the communities in which you live, you and I and we live, right? And our friends live in as well. So it's a bit short-sighted, I think, if you're running a business to be purely after the cash at the expense of other things, namely your staff.
This is exactly why you believe in kindness and the small actions that ripple into big outcomes. And I'm pretty sure you just took everyone's business and made them a superhero with this. But one of the things
I was just going to say, it's a huge privilege, isn't it, running a business? Not just well, we call it a responsibility running a business. If you've got, let's say you've got 100 staff, you're actually probably more than likely looking after 400 to 500 people. And we call it a responsibility, but really it's our privilege, isn't it? As players in this grand human drama that we call life, we're all in here together trying to do our bit for communities and society and life and the progress that we're all enjoying. So yeah, I think it's all about the people and tying it all together.
So then, John, how do you know if you're succeeding in business?
Well, that's a very good question, isn't it? And I actually think this is why a very easy answer to that question is, well, are you profitable? Are you sustainable, etc., etc.? And it's almost too easy because adding up money is really easy, isn't it? I mean, like we've been doing it for years. It's just like counting. But what really is a true measure of success of a business? Is it making as much money as you can, or is it surviving as a business, but maybe employing, I don't know, 10 staff when you only really needed to employ 8? Because you can look after those 2 extra staff. You can pay them. You're not going to make as much profit as if you hadn't employed them, but actually they have got families of themselves and they needed a job, and it's about sharing the wealth. Did you know that I think it's something like half of the wealth in the world is now no, the top 8, I'll get this right in a minute, the top 8 richest people in the world own as much wealth as the bottom half. So that's like the top 8 men own as much wealth as 4 billion other people. Now, I'm not against rich people and poor people per se, but that balance seems too far towards the rich people, right? It's like, can we like reduce that number or increase that number from 8 to like 20 or 100? Yeah, like, does that seem slightly disproportionate to you?
It is definitely disproportionate. It makes your stomach drop. I don't think I'm at least not shocked by it. Maybe other people are a little shocked by it, but I've seen enough statistics around wealth distribution to know that is definitely not equitable. It is definitely not even, and there is some huge disparities between it that are devastating. So how do
Absolutely.
I mean, and wealth has been such a big focus, money, success from an organizational standpoint. How are we really bringing in this human perspective into that? Because I'm hearing little snippets from you of, it's not necessarily the amount of profit that you make, it's the amount of people that you employ.
Well, it could be that. I mean, this is why it's so difficult to really advise businesses, because there's a million different businesses in a million different locations with a million different leaders and a million different ways of doing things, and no sort of one way of doing things is right or not. But I do believe, and you will have seen it in your life, that kindness goes a long way, that actually rather than being out to look after number one, i.e. yourself, you can have probably a lot better success if you look after others around you. That makes them feel better, more likely to help others around them, and the whole thing should ripple around.
I do find that a lot of that is that leadership influence, right? If you are able to lead and have that type of influence with your team, that impact that you're looking to have, that is not only, to your point, a great ripple effect and will have much larger impact beyond that initial interaction, but that's also the limitation to the growth of your business. When you are not able to lead others, when you're not able to lead that organization, you've now capped your ability to grow that group of people effectively. You've capped your ability to succeed, to have that bigger impact, to even get more profit, if that's that's the ultimate goal for that organization. But that leadership element combined with people tends to be that limiting.
So it's, if you think, let's talk about profit just for a second, but if you think about if you follow the continuum of where profit comes from, all of the profit has originated inside somebody's head. It's an idea inside somebody's head, isn't it? And we think best when we're feeling emotionally safe, supported, nurtured. If we're in stressful environments, we stop thinking properly. And I've experienced this myself. Your brain, that can be your greatest ally and your best friend, can suddenly become your worst enemy in the wrong environment. And I mean, I think you put a post on LinkedIn just yesterday, I think, about the numbers of employees who are disengaged, or, you know, 33% of the US workforce are engaged. Well, that number is just far too low. It's far too low, because what it really means is that what 2/3 of people are turning up to work just for a paycheck. You know, not to do something that they believe in, not to do something that they're passionate about, not to build a cathedral. And that's bad for business, because it means that our staff are not productive. But it's also really bad for the employee, because if you've got happy workers at home, at work, sorry, they go home to their families, that creates much more likely to create happy families. Happy families become happy communities. So everything is interlinked.
Well, I know we got a little off track, and I apologize, but I got so excited hearing more about your ripple effect and really that perspective, because it is unique for business, and it is important to keep in mind, and it's a very critical component to how we look at success and how we structure an organization, and the impact and legacy along with that. But you brought up this topic of Monergy flow, and I keep looking to Adam like, okay, Monergy. What in the world is Monergy flow?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so my history is starting and running small businesses, you know, nothing massive, but I've always been acutely aware of just how important people are inside organizations. And so the Monergy flow is a high level conceptual business model that kind of outlines pretty much what we've just been talking about, so that it outlines there's a chain of events. If you want to make money, and it's right that you do, then the only way to make money is to sell something to somebody. And if we think about what we sell these days, we used to say, look, we either sell a product or a service. I think actually really what we're selling and buying today are experiences. I think that's all it is, right? If you think about even the products, all the products that we buy, some of them give us, you know, like our clothes we're wearing give us an amazing experience, because like we're inside them. The cars we drive, we sit inside that product. Gives us an amazing experience of being able to travel to see our loved ones. And so, but to sell something to somebody, you've got to tell them you've got something to sell, right? And that's marketing. So that's the next step in the chain of events. Marketing, again, is a really interesting topic for me, because I could stand up and say, hello, I'm John, I've got something to sell you, do you want to buy it? And if I'm lucky, you might say yes. And we've got a transactional relationship there, which is only so so deep as relationships go. It's like paper thin, right? Because the moment someone else comes along with a slightly better product, or cheaper, or better looking, or whatever metric that you buy stuff with, you're switching to someone else. So a much better way of marketing, I think, is rather than standing up and saying, hello, I've got something to sell, is to stand up and say, hello, here I am, and be genuine and authentic and honest about who you are as a person. Because then people walking by on the street will see you, and the ones that align with your values and what you're saying will come over for a chat. And then you've not only made a customer, but you've made a friend, and a friend becomes an ambassador. And when you sell stuff to them, they can be much, much happier telling their friends and family about you as well. And the best companies, I think, understand this, and that's why they're very keen to build their own personalities. And the personality of a business is called its brand. But of course, I would argue that businesses don't really exist in the same way that you and I exist, Megan. So how can something that doesn't exist have a personality? And of course, a business's brand isn't really just the brand of the business. It's a brand of the people inside the business, or the humans at the start of the chain of events. So this kind of highlights a continuum. So if you want whatever outcome you want, whether it's to do something great in the world, whether it's to make money, you need to follow that careful chain of events all the way back to humans.
So you're starting at the end product, right? And you're saying the end product is truly a human experience. When you have a product or service, you are providing another human, another person, an experience for that product, which impacts their lives, whether they're wearing clothes in cars, having having the service performed for them, it impacts their lives. But in order to do that, you've got to be able to market effectively. And I'll even say that's to be able to connect. If you're not connecting with that human, you're not marketing effectively. You're not communicating.
100%.
It doesn't have something there. But beyond that marketing, right? You're starting with that brand, which is really that persona of the, which is made up of the people. So you're starting going the opposite direction. It is people that make up the brand, that send a marketing message to connect, that have an ultimate product or service that changes lives.
100%. You've got it. You're
so
like a natural.
Why do you call it Monergy?
Sorry, say that again.
Why do you call it Monergy?
So Monergy is a portmanteau of money and energy. And if you think about money, so money is really interesting, isn't it? So I don't really think about money in the same way that everyone else does, I don't think, because people look at me very quizzically when I talk about it. But I don't think money exists. It's a human construct. And I think about money as a connector. A converter, sorry, a converter. So all money does is it allows us as a society very easily to convert one thing we have into something else we want. All right. So you run an amazing business and you use your mind and your brain and all your experience. You take that, you've got that, and you convert it into helping other businesses, and they pay you for it. So you've converted your amazing mind and your experiences into money that you then convert into shelter, heat, and whatever else it is that is important for you at that time. And it's the same for everybody. That's all money does. No, you know, when people say, "Oh, I just want to make more money," I'm like, well, you don't really, do you? Because I mean, nobody just wants more digits.
Duck it into, or Scrooge McDuck. He was the one that jumped into the giant pile of coins.
Well, yeah, maybe that is what you want. But I mean, so yeah. So interestingly, nobody has ever seen any money, ever. But when you say this to people, they're like, "Oh no, I definitely have seen some money," and you haven't. You've seen some representations of it. So you've seen some paper. It's not actual money. It's just represents money. And the other much more likely way you've seen money is digits on your phone or on your computer screen. Well, the only reason you want more of those is so you can buy more stuff of the things you want, right? Or you want more safety for a longer runway for the rest of your life. So I don't know. I just find it helps to think about money as a converter.
So let me ask one last question, which is, we have this beautiful Monergy flow concept. You've mapped it out beautifully. We'll put it in the show notes. You can contact John if you want to see and learn more about that Monergy flow. But
I would love that.
How can organizations use this model?
So I think it starts with raising awareness, doesn't it? I mean, I think it's very easy to to wake up in the morning, not really think, go and do the job that you have got, doing a very sort of pigeonholed role where you don't see the larger connections. And actually, there's a lot, everything is connected. Everything is super, super connected. And the actions that you take will affect other people, whether you think they will or won't. I mean, I go as far as to say that everybody is changing the world, whether you believe it or not, you are, to some degree. And you have the power to change, to affect all of those around you, either positively or negatively. So why not try to do it a little bit more positively?
I love that. It's a huge perspective shift. It's the opportunity to create impact. I think it's also incredibly empowering, right? When you understand that you are having an impact, and I always like to say that you are contributing to the company culture, you are contributing to the environment, to your world, whether you're doing it intentionally or unintentionally, whether you're putting a positive aspect to it or a negative one, that is 100% on you. So if you're looking at this Monergy flow, you're able to see where and how you plug in, where your actions are, and really make sure that you're on the right track and being more intentional with that approach.
Yeah, and how you fit all together. I mean, we have to remember that the world, we are not inside the world getting blown around by what happens. You know, we also do some blowing of our own, and you know, we affect other people. We're part and parcel of the system.
So, John, what should people do if they want to learn more about this or about Coefficient?
Well, very easily, you can just look me up on LinkedIn, or they can ask you, and you will put us in touch. I'm very easy to find on LinkedIn. I've got a nice link there. Click on my link, book in a meeting. We can have a chat about it. It would make my day.
Thank you so much for spending the time with me today to learn more about Monergy Flow, more about the people and the human impact of business, and really how we can start to bring that to the forefront. It was a lovely conversation with you as always. Thank you so much. And until next time, talk to you later.
Loved it. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Culture Conversations. I'm your host, Megan Robinson, founder of eLeader Experience, a professional leadership development company. Today, we shared actionable ideas to navigate the evolving workplace landscape, compete for talent, and build cultures that maximize potential. If you're looking to learn more about how to support your organization's leaders, you can learn more about our work at eleaderexperience.com. Now get out there and contribute positively to your organization's culture with your own conversations.